So we here with Aaliyah. Listen, longtime friend. Yeah, I've known Aaliyah for how long has it been? Like 3 years, 4 years,
I think closer to five.
5 years. Yeah, I think it was 2017, 2018, around that. Um, and yeah, just met through YouTube and what have you. But I wanted to start just interviewing random people, and not so much random to me, but random to the universe. People that are in the cut, nobody knows exist, but are causing havoc and solving problems, serving their country and what have you. But a little bit about you, your background, where you from, what made you want to join the Air Force.
Spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
What made me join the Air Force? A different scenery, something different, which turned out not to be so very different at all. Where am I from? I'm originally from Trinidad Island.
Mm.
Lived in Jersey for the last 20 years, maybe, before being shipped off to the middle of the country, Nebraska, by the.
How's that been? And off at Air Force Base, how's it been
Offutt has
treating you?
been good to me. Offutt has been good to me. Not the best location for recreation of my interests personally, but work wise, Offutt has been good to me.
And what would you say your interests are in relation to? I mean, you mentioned off it doesn't seem to have what you're looking for, but
Well, Nebraska cannot offer me recreation
so
of my kind and liking.
you have two people on your walls behind you, and obviously I see a third as well. But if you want to talk
It's the
about this,
same person above as well.
okay. So why them? What's the significance of those individuals?
I don't. Do I really need to explain Bob? I don't feel like Bob requires an explanation. Like,
I mean, I don't listen to him. I've heard his name constantly. I have almost zero. I don't think I have any of his music on my phone whatsoever. But I mean,
wow,
why should I listen to Bob Marley in your opinion?
Bob was a man with a message,
Mm-hmm.
so all of his music reflected some sort of message. He's a great. Um, Sade, in my opinion, is a great, very unique in what she did. There is no other. Same like Bob, there is no replica. Will never be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my reasons weren't so much for the pictures. My reasons weren't so much because like I love their music. Actually, it was just like the actual depiction of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see
Yeah.
Bob, but he's gesturing in a
Mm-hmm.
way that just epitomizes gratitude for me. So it's really a reminder for me.
Okay.
Sade, I just feel like she just like oozes grace and feminism, and I love and softness, and I love that.
Who would you say is the artist that speaks to you the most? Obviously, I know you're a huge fan of music, but is there one in particular that kind of hits home most of the time?
That would change and depend on the day, really. Yeah, like Bob, for instance, I feel like I can never go wrong with.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably have to say Bob.
Do you have a genre you listen to the most?
I've been listening to a lot of old music lately. If you're asking about recent, I like some of the R&B artists recently, the new
Mm-hmm.
age R&B artists.
Like who?
You know, all the whisper R&B artists. All
Whisper
the
artists.
yeah, you know, the Janaes and all of them.
Oh yeah, okay, okay. I got you. Like Sabrina Claudio.
I'm not a fan of her.
Oh my goodness. See, this is
I'm
we.
not a fan.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
not a fan. I'm just not.
I mean, Janae is right there with to me that they're like 1A, 1B in terms of like when the fills are necessary. I'm like Sabrina, she's number one person. I'm like, oh, I'm going to her. But also, I'm a huge fan of what's her name? Big pop artist Ariana Grande. She was so slept on until I came across a couple of songs, and
I'm
it's
not
usually her outros. Her outros catch me lacking every time. Like, bruh, you are anointed for these outros. Like
no.
she just be sitting
She's
there.
a great singer. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not a
Mm,
fan. I'm
that's
just
cool. That's cool. What would you say is the biggest difference between living in America versus living in Trinidad?
biggest difference.
Mm,
It's just a lot more relaxed. Everything here is very calculated, and it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot more pressure living here than living in the islands. Like, you can go easy and neglect a little bit more in the islands than you can here.
Do you think you're happier here in the U.S. than you were in the islands?
There's pros and cons to both. I like um, I like efficiency and
Hmm.
certain comforts and luxuries, and I'm not really afforded that in the same capacity. I can have it, just not in the same capacity as here. And then also, recreation is a thing too. Trinidad is not really on a scale to host certain things on an artistic level than I have access to here. So
Hmm.
I appreciate like those things, but still love it. I love it.
Growing up in Trinidad, did you ever have ambition to join the military, or was that something that happened recently? Because you mentioned spontaneity, but has that was there
I
ever a seed
have
planted?
never, ever in all of my life thought that I would be in the military. It was not even a thought in my mind.
Mm.
But having worked in a kind of mundane office setting, which is why I
Mm.
laugh about it now because nothing actually changed. But
Dusty off
having
it.
worked in that setting for so long, and I had a few military friends, and I don't know, it just always seemed to be like some level of spontaneity to their everyday lives.
Mm.
I just literally jumped into it for that, and it's not necessarily that, but at the same time, I don't have regrets.
No regrets. That's pretty
Not
good.
yet, not yet, not
So
yet.
I don't know if you want the people to know about this, but your orders to Osan. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm excited. I'm excited for new scenery, a new experience, meeting new people, just to
Mm.
see what the future. I'm open. I'm open to my future, so I embrace it and welcome it, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
you always got that open and grounded energy
I
about
feel like that's
yourself.
the only way you can live life. Like, you have no control.
Mm.
You have control to a certain degree, in a certain way, to a certain extent.
I felt free will creeping up. I'm like, interesting, but of course, you kind of beat me to it. I do want to stay there for a minute because of course, it piqued my energy. Um, we have no control. Uh, where do you get your happiness from if we have no control? Not saying
Happiness,
you're wrong, but is there a way to pursue happiness or
happiness is
fulfillment?
happiness is fleeting. Um, Fulfillment, gratitude, I would say,
Hmm.
but I think happiness is fleeting. You have I feel like I have joyful moments. Like, in a moment I can acknowledge, you know what, I am happy right now, I feel good
Hmm.
right now. That's not all the time. It comes and goes in waves, and I just allow it.
What would you say is your most common emotion?
I don't know. It's contemplative an emotion. It's introspective an emotion, because I feel like I spend just most of my time thinking than actually like having a particular emotion. Emotions are wavering, they change by the
Hmm.
second.
Do you consider yourself introvert or extrovert?
I think I'm an ambivert. I can be what I need to be in a moment I need to be it.
Okay.
If I don't have a choice. If I have a choice, I would choose introversion.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously, I follow you on Instagram, so I see like the throwbacks of like, you in the club or you at a concert, you getting it in. I'm like, now I know I'm an introvert with
An introvert doesn't
extrovert.
mean that you don't go out. An introvert doesn't mean that you don't do anything.
Introvert it's more defined by what you do while you're out. So like me, I'm hella comfortable in a coffee shop. I'm gonna go find me a corner. I'm gonna get out my phone. I'm gonna get my headphones on, noise canceling, and I'm gonna sit there and vibe for hours.
I can do that.
Versus if I exactly. So that's why I kind of get confused. I'm like, if I go to a concert, I'm doing pretty much the same thing. I'm hoping for a corner seat, aisle seat, and I'm just gonna sit there and listen to the music and dissect the actual notes and the progressions. Dancing has never occurred to me. I'm like, bruh, be free and let your limbs do what they. I'm like,
Now,
no, bruh.
now. Is it that dancing never occurred to you, or you can't dance?
I feel like dancing is an ability. It's kind of like swimming. I'm like, people call swimming a sport. I'm like, no, swimming is an ability because if you can't swim, you die. There's certain things I feel like they are quality based or expression based because there's really no rules to dancing. But yet, I feel like you know it when you see it. Like I know that person can dance based off what I'm. Even though I know I can't dance, I can watch them dance. I'm like, there's something freeing about that, and I know they're doing it right. Versus if I try to make my own rules and say I'm gonna go to a club or I'm gonna go to a concert and get down, what have you, I'm gonna be breaking all these different rules
I
that are
feel like
unwritten.
I feel like even as an introvert, everyone has their spaces, you know? Like and those things are my spaces. Anything to do with the arts, music, performances, anything like that are my spaces. So I would come alive in those spaces. That might not be your spaces. You might come alive in a different setting. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Certain settings that I would not I would curl up because it's not a setting.
Yeah, you put me on basketball court, I start dancing in my own way. It's like give people.
Exactly. You put me on a basketball
That's
court, I would
true.
get hit with the ball, like because I don't do sports.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah,
Since you joined the military, has there been any change in your mental health that you've noticed?
absolutely. The military is a very constant, demanding, and stressful space.
Hmm.
So for me personally, it's mentally taxing because my brain is always going.
Hmm.
I have to hone in and take the break. You know what I mean? I would say that it has changed. Yeah, it's created a sense of dis ease in a lot of senses because every sometimes days can be so unexpected.
Hmm.
You know, you could be called upon at the least expected times to do certain things.
I have a theory, and it kind of ties into what you just said. So I watched a video, and it was what every man needs to know about women. And what she proceeded to start talking about was how a man, in most cases, doesn't know what it feels like to walk down the street at night and feel afraid or feel in danger, or what have you. And of course, I asked my girl at the time, was there any truth to that? What was there any correlation to that? Has she ever experienced that? And of course, at certain times, you feel like dark alley. You see a guy with a gun, whatever. You see a dog, and you feel emotions or feelings equivalent to fear, what have you. But to tie that theory into the military, have you ever felt a sense of danger or a sense of being uncomfortable in the military environment?
No, personally, no, I
Hmm.
haven't. I haven't felt that. No, it's
Okay.
more of an anxiety than what you're explaining. I think.
Okay. Have you ever felt that outside the military environment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it a constant, or is it
I
something
think
that
for me
just?
personally, that's just how I react to the work scene.
Hmm.
I think, but I just feel like with the military, there's less leverage, so it creates more anxiety.
Would you consider finance difficult from your perspective?
No, it's not difficult. It's just not fulfilling.
And of course, we've talked offline and concerning like cross training, what have you. Um, do you have jobs specifically you're looking at right now?
It's two so far that I'm considering, and I'm looking to add to that list since I can list up to five, I believe. But of the two, I'm really leaning towards one. The two are equal opportunity,
Hmm.
with I believe I would have to have a line number to before I can even be approved for that. But
But you might have that soon anyway, so we're not so much worried about that piece. And then the other one's probably religious fairs.
there's
Got you. Um, what do you think the hardest thing about being in the military is?
um, the system. The
Hmm.
system is just the way it's set up. Generally, just is quite senseless in a lot of ways.
Mm.
I just wish a lot more would make a lot more sense. I think that's one. Two, obviously, toxic leadership, people
Hmm.
around you. Um, for me personally, though, because I'm older, the dynamic has been weird.
Hmm.
Has been a very weird existence for me.
Have you been able to make friends? Being an older recruit joining the military later in life, has that been difficult? Being able to relate?
Yes, 100%. And I have friends. They're just like half my age.
or they outrank you because they are E7 or something.
Well, I don't really necessarily consider them my friends. Like the ones that are more like higher ranking, I consider them mentors.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you. What's been your best experience in the military so far?
Well, I've only had one base so far, so I can
Mm,
only for this. Before prior to this, it was training environment, which is quite different. Um, Best experience, the people. I love the people that I work with,
mm.
and I can only hope and pray that going forward, I can find a semblance of this, if not better. If not better, better. Yeah.
True. What's the one myth about the Air Force that you came in thinking was true and you discovered was not true?
Came in thinking it was true and discovered it was not true. I don't know, because I feel like having you as a resource prepped me really, 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 really well.
Well,
It was a whole
bless you.
there was no like really there was so much that when I saw it coming or it came, like I was already prepared
Mm,
mentally because I knew ahead of time. So like that, there wasn't really much of a surprise. Nothing about it was really much of a surprise for me. Nothing phased me.
wow.
I don't think I can answer that because I feel like I was well prepped.
I actually met a subscriber yesterday in the gym, and
Yeah.
they always have that same look. Like they always, hey, are you that one guy? I'm like, yeah, man, what was good, man? But he said a lot of the same things, and of course, most people that I run into in person, they have a lot of the same energy as far as just the information is valuable. What mentorship could you give to someone coming behind you, coming from your own perspective?
From my perspective, I would just say do as much research as you can, especially on people's experiences,
Mm.
um, and ask all the questions you need to ask any and everyone about any and everything.
Do
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
you plan on doing 20?
Too early to tell, but I will always say today, right now, as it stands, that's the mindset. And if at
Mm-hmm.
any point I don't feel it, doesn't make sense anymore, it's not for me anymore, I have absolutely no issues working out.
Is there a specific base that you've had your eye on or you've heard about that you have your heart set on?
Nah, I'm kind of over the whole like talk about bases. I mean, like location
Mm-hmm.
obviously matters, but you can be in a great location and have a terrible experience or toxic people around you, toxic leadership, and have a negative experience. So you just kind of got to deal with that as it comes, make the best of it.
True.
My experience here wasn't always peachy. I just made the best of it.
Yeah. What has Aaliyah excited right now in life? Is there one particular show you're watching, a song you heard,
Now you
a
know that
food
I don't
you
get excited.
cooked? Well, what has your attention currently?
The simplest things excite me. If the sun shines just right, the moon is out just right, I'm excited. Those are the things that excite me. Not much. I'm looking forward to change the scenery, but I'm not really excited. I'm stressed out actually.
With like the PCS process
Yeah.
or like the planning and logistics, all that? Like,
The logistics, yeah.
okay, got you. What are you watching on Netflix right now,
Netflix.
or Hulu, or Amazon?
Hulu. I've been watching Abbott Elementary. It's new. What was the last thing I watched on Netflix? I don't know what the last thing I watched on Netflix is. Um, I don't know. TV is TV comes and goes for me. Like I'll binge for a couple of days and then I don't need to watch TV for like 2 weeks.
I feel like I learned so much more about you through your Instagram stories. I remember at one point I watched you posted something about the ocean, and you watched a documentary on it. What has you intrigued about the ocean and the mysteries thereof?
The magnificence of it, just the magnificence of it.
What else has you intrigued or on the same plane as the ocean? Is there anything else that you admire heavily just because of what it is?
I like food shows.
What's wrong with that?
Ooh, I love food shows.
Mm. Do you have a favorite?
No, because I don't watch them as much as I used to. But recently on Netflix, I've picked up a few. They're just comfort watches for me. I loved The School of Chocolate.
Hmm.
I think Nadia Bakes is like the most relaxing show to just throw on and sit back to. I like food shows. Let me see what else excites me besides the ocean like that. Um, I don't know. I just like documentaries in general. It could be about animals too. It just depends on the range topic.
Do you believe in soulmates?
I do, and I believe that you can have soulmates in different forms
Mm.
and can have multiple. I don't believe in just like one soulmate and that's just your only forever. Like, no, I feel like you can have multiple soulmates in different seasons of your life for different reasons. I consider my best friend my soulmate.
Mm. Interesting.
I
Well,
still can't
Isaiah,
believe you're getting out.
I ain't got time for the military. The military ran its course. Um, yeah, the experience in Alaska, that was the catalyst. That was the last straw. Especially like just editing these videos again, and this last video being from the beginning of 2021, the month before my anxiety kind of really spiked and kind of reached the precipice. I think about those moments of like, I knew in that moment I was feeling anxiety and like didn't really have a keen sense of what it was or why I was having it. But from this current position I'm in, I understand a lot of the nuances of mental health, especially in relation to anxiety. That the military is playing a major role. It's not caused. It's I wouldn't say the military is the cause of the anxiety, but it's not helping at all. So a lot of things that I've sought after, especially in my current life, in regards to happiness and peace and just fulfillment, the military almost checks none of those boxes outside of the check I still have when I'm going on leave. It, I can't get fulfillment from this environment, and of course the cross training, red tape, and pals chase red tape. It's just red tape everywhere. I'm like, bro, can I just get a little bit of some? Just I don't want a
I
lot.
feel like you have had such like you have had like a series of just bad experiences, negative experiences.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's the part about the military I hate the most. And something I've talked about with mental health therapists in regards to control and the need for control, where a lot of ways I've had to just accept things when they happen and like, all right, just let it go. I can't control it. I can't change it. Let it go. But I'm starting to realize in the military, there's so much of that I just have to let go and accept and just okay, so we're working 12s today and not 8. Oh, we're working this weekend. Oh, we're working holidays or
Mhm.
it's constantly adjusting to acceptance rather than having, I have no control of anything. And so with that, you learn to adapt, you learn to overcome it in the moment, but it's still kind of, you're still adding on to your baggage as far as things I have to carry around. And it's why my relationship ended. I don't mind admitting that. Um, I had so many secrets in my head of I don't want that. I don't want to live that way. I don't want the dogs in my house. You have two live animals, one dead in this house. I don't want. It was like a cow skull that was painted blue, and I'm like, bro, that's a dead animal, bro. They
But
call it
you
taxidermy.
love dogs.
I do, but once they reach a certain size,
Okay, gotcha.
it's diminishing returns. I'm like that dog is larger than me,
You like
and
them little fluffy things. Okay.
the Instagram dogs, going into a relationship, and I'm thinking I'm being honest with myself and her, but at the same time, I have all these secrets of should I speak about that? Should I admit this? Like I have a whole
No.
sticky note of things that I've had to address personally because the first thing I have to look at me. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Because most relationships end where people are pointing the finger. Well, my ex was toxic. My ex did this. My ex didn't do that. I'm like, well, you were involved as well. So I try to reflect personally, but I feel
As
like
you,
the correlation between. I'm sorry.
as you should. Yes.
Yeah, that's facts. So yeah, just seeing the correlations between a failed relationship and what I would call a failed military career, even though I'm going to the guard, there are a lot of correlations and lines that can be drawn between the two, that I've come to make my peace with and like just accept it. All relationships are not meant to last. Military career, most people don't do 20. Most people don't. It's tough. Like my boy, he was in the army. He called me yesterday, and he did 8 years. He's out. He's in school now. and he's dealing with anxiety. He's like, I don't know where this stuff is coming from, bro. I'm just losing my. I had 2 panic attacks this week alone. And I'm like, bruh. And I told him about my checklist of like, check your music, your water intake, your sleep, your testosterone, your hormones, your eating, like your fitness. Like I have this checklist I go off personally. But yeah, mental health itself, it's just been an alarming reality that's come up in the last year. And of course, it's during the military career that most people kind of deal with that mental health adjustment or adaptation, if you will.
I hate speaking about myself.
Yeah, but it's selfish. You got all this life experience, and nobody knows you exist except for like the 400 people that follow you on Instagram. That's
Who needs,
unacceptable.
who needs to know? No.
Why don't you like to talk about yourself?
It's just a part of my personality.
Is it pride,
Absolutely not. Probably the opposite.
humility? You don't think you're worthy enough to be in the spotlight?
I won't say worthy. Like, that's a strong word.
That's why I chose it. It's triggering. It's provocative. Do you think you're worthy enough to be in the spotlight?
What kind of question is that? I'm in the spotlights I need to be in.
How was the military during COVID? And of course, COVID's kind of still here, but during like the heights of COVID, what was your experience like?
My experience was pretty chill because, I mean, like I said before, there's not much that I do out here anyway, so I had absolutely no issues being at home. I
Mm.
purposely curate and create whatever space that I'm in that I can exist there for as long as I need to. I make it comfortable enough, bring the vibes.
See,
Yeah, I have to have an oasis everywhere I go and everywhere I am. I just have to create that so I can be okay with staying there as long as I need to.
wasn't there a time that I think you talked about like being an interior designer?
Yeah, I took a course and touched on it a little bit, but I've never pursued it per se.
Was that still a thing that you think about?
Yeah, I think about it, but not like in a professional sense per se, more like in a personal sense. I think I prefer to go into like the real estate realm and kind of have freelance my own abilities within my own space as opposed to working for someone. I just I enjoy creativity. I don't consider myself that creative, but I enjoy creativity.
I think I remember some years ago I told you should have been a photographer, and that you still have the like.
You're not the only one, and I still never bought a camera.
Right. I mean, it's like sickening. It's something that we all do because you have people tell like I say you need to write a book, and I'm like, oh, whatever. I got Twitter, and then I'll tell you, Leah, you need to be a photographer. Your eye is amazing. Your editing is dope. And then of course we'll both kind of well, I might I'll think about it, or I got my phone, I got my Instagram. I don't really need to go that deep. Um, but has that something that you've ever truly considered as far as like maybe I
I
could take a
have
chance on this?
considered it. I have considered it before. I do think that I have a really good eye, and I do think that I
Mm.
have a really good ear when it comes to music. Um, I don't consider myself like I don't feel like I have talent or skill per se, but I have a good eye and ear for it though.
Mm.
That I could admit. Yeah.
So if other people are telling you you have an eye and ear, and you know you have an eye and ear, what's the disconnect?
I don't know, timing, I guess. Um, it's fair too. It's fair too. I never really feel like I'm that good at anything.
Mm. And that kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier about the spotlight, because I have you on here for a reason. It's not because you're average or you're mediocre, but it's because you left an imprint. And it's not because it was average, though a random person walking down the street, this random subscriber hit me up and out of nowhere. Like, no, you've left an imprint. And I notice a lot of things, especially just in the smallest little things of your stories, the amount of effort that I perceive to be going into it. Because I'm like, Brett, nothing I post, look, I post pictures, maybe a couple videos. My stuff never looks like that. And then I see your stuff, I'm like, all right, she's either putting time in it, or she's using a template, or she's just
Or she's
stealing from.
OCD.
Exactly. And I'm like, one thing I've noticed, and it's why I'm it's mostly why I'm getting out of the military, is that if there's even a small chance that I can do full time what I love to do, I have to take that chance. And from what I know, and we both work in finance, we ain't making no money.
Mhm.
We are capped at a ceiling based on our pay grade, based on promotion.
Yeah.
And no matter how hard you work or how little you work,
Abs-
teleworking, working in an office, slaving 12 hours, our check is not changing. And I'm like, I don't get any fulfillment from this environment. So why
mhm.
would I stay here dealing with mental health issues and dealing with a financial ceiling when I can go out into the world where before I even joined, I was playing piano full time and I loved my life. I was happy, like in every definition of the word, I was happy. And then come here and my happiness has dropped immensely. And other things have increased, like anxiety. I'm like, bro, I'm not even getting paid enough to be in this environment, knowing what's available. And it's not like I'll succeed, like I'll be a TikTok star tomorrow.
Hey, you never
Just,
know.
but that's kind of the point. Is like that risk doesn't exist in the military, where if I wanted to start a business or if I wanted to go full time on YouTube or something, there's so many limits and fences and ceilings and floors that I can't really escape in terms of trying something. Have you ever considered going all in on something you're passionate about?
If I am to be honest with you and myself, like I haven't. I just don't have the balls to. Like at least not yet. Like I
Mm.
don't have that level of confidence. I don't.
That's very honest.
But some of the reasons that you talk about like your dislike within the military are actually some of the reasons why I'm choosing to continue right now and so far. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I do get to retrain into something like religious affairs, like I would find fulfillment in being able to be someone or take
Mm-hmm.
the place of some shitty person
Mm-hmm.
that someone might
Mm-hmm.
have as a supervisor or whomever, and just be able to be a tool for people like yourself and like
Mm-hmm.
me and like my peers. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel like these figures within the military are important, and I would like to be one of those people. But we'll see how it goes.
Have you had abundance of bad supervisors in your opinion?
No, no, no. I wouldn't say bad. I would say like not my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been able to work around every single person that I have any ounce of dislike or disdain or anything for. I've been able to successfully work with or around them so far. Like I just feel like I have an ability to do that. I think my age played a part. um, but yeah, I haven't had like any. I really haven't had bad experiences so far. Like
Mm-hmm.
not anything that makes me that bitter or anything. Like it's just been obstacles, annoyances, humps in the road,
Yeah.
temporary shit.
How's basic training for you?
Great. I learned a
Oh
lot from
my,
you, so I was able to expect
Dusty.
everything that came. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I made some good friends, some people that I'm still friends with.
Hmm.
I had a good time. It was an experience, once in a lifetime. It was cool.
Would you ever want to be stationed at Lackland,
I don't mind.
Kiesler?
No, absolutely. I
Why
hate
not?
Mississippi. I just don't like Mississippi. I don't like Mississippi. Just it has the heaviest vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
I somehow know exactly what you mean by vibe, and it's like I see it in the buildings. It's like it's
I feel it's
heavy.
an ancestral thing, but
Facts. That's exactly what I was alluded to. I didn't want to say it, but like I can't look at plantation estates and not think of
I
what
hate
goes
that
along with
place.
that.
I really,
Mm.
really hate that place. Yeah.
I couldn't even properly enjoy the ocean all the way because it's not. It's the
Damn,
Gulf of
I'm from the
Mexico.
island. That is not an ocean. Okay. That's not
Little
an
dusty.
ocean. I would
It's
never touch
yeah.
that. I would
It's like
never touch that water.
I have yet to touch the water, and I'm like, and people talk about it has all these fleshy bacteria. I'm like, how does moving water have all this bacteria? I mean, but it is the Gulf, and I've been like
Even
going to
though
Houston.
like there were some pretty sunsets or
Yeah.
whatnot over there. That's about it. I met great people there.
Hmm.
That was it. The food at Keesler's defect was bomb.
Listen,
But
we was
outside
breaking bread.
outside of that, no,
Hmm.
I would never want to be there. No.
That's interesting. You ever go to casinos while you're there?
I went one time. Casinos are not my thing. I just went because the people I was with went, and yeah,
Mm, true,
that's
true, true. Do you
that's
consider
what
yourself a leader or a follower?
I can be both.
Which one do you think is primary? The first thing you when you wake up, what do you think is primary?
I can lead if need be, but I'm good at following too, and I don't mind following behind a great leader.
Got you. Who do you think is, or who would you say is your favorite leader in history?
History.
I think I might know who it is, but
No, you don't actually, because you're thinking that I'm gonna say Malcolm, but I'm not.
I didn't say that. I didn't say anything. I didn't answer
No,
the
I
question.
don't, because at the end of the day, you have to remember that I am a Muslim. So in my mind, the greatest
Hmm.
leader has been the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay, cool,
Greatest
cool.
example.
What's one thing you take from his leadership, or from his existence, his the life he lived, that you pattern your life after?
His compassion for people.
Hmm. And I can see how that could tie directly into the role of the EO office, or especially a religious affairs technician, someone who has to be able to immediately connect. I just requested a change of therapist at mental health because the guy, I couldn't build rapport with the guy. I'm like, I felt like he was scared of me. I'm like, I'm just a regular person who's struggling. Why is it so difficult? Like, put your walls. I can feel your walls.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to feel that from people who are there to help you.
The technician at mental health, were they like enlisted or are they
Officers.
okay?
Now, the technicians that like kind of triage you, they're enlisted,
Okay.
but the actual providers are officers. And it sucks when you get like a senior airman equivalent, like a captain. I'm like, all right, bro, you fresh out the academy, you got that milk on your breath, like you just read a couple books. I'm like, nigga, I got 5 years of troubling thoughts in my head of ICER and military proceedings. I'm like, I need help, and of course, that they're trained to help you. But I feel like there's also a life experience component that's required to be able to connect with people, to even have compassion. You need a certain level of experience in life. Whereas I feel like at 29, if I have like a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old provider, I'm like, bro, can you drink,
Yeah, I would
bro?
walk
Like,
out. I'm sorry.
uh, I'm like, there's limitation. Like, give me a 45-year-old who been around the world a couple times, who been divorced.
I'm gonna need
Let
an
me talk
80
to
year
them.
old. Like,
I ain't trying to hear that. I ain't trying to hear it. What age did you join?
I was 35 when I joined.
Would you recommend other 35-year-olds join?
Why not?
What was your biggest struggle being a 35-year-old in basic training?
The dynamics
Mm-hmm.
between people like half your age connecting, and it's not to say that I didn't make friends. I have really good friends that are 19, 20, 21, 22 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but there's only but so much you can connect on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
What about with like the MTIs? Was there an issue there as far as? I mean, a lot of them probably your same age, if not a little bit younger.
I was older than my MTI. Like towards the end, when everybody was casual and cool, he called me mom. Like
Wow,
I was
they
older than
should have
him.
made you behind
He was
what's
the
a dorm
best.
chief.
He was the best. No, I was flying under the radar. I didn't want to
Let me
be out
see.
here.
Must be nice.
No,
I
I was
definitely
the
tried to.
auntie. I was the auntie. Everybody came to me.
Mm.
Yeah, I was the auntie. I'm good with that.
Do you have any nieces and nephews?
I do. I have one niece. She's 6, and I have let me say 16-year old and a 20-year-old nephew.
Wow. How's your experience been with connecting with family while living in the middle of the flyover states?
I've never really been super connected to my family. My family understands that what they get from me, they get.
Just grateful. Just
I,
I'll
I,
take it.
I show up when I need to, and
Mm,
yeah, I would say that though that my mom has reached out to me. I've spoken more with my mom since I've been here than
mm.
I ever have in my life.
Wow. What do you think has caused that?
She misses me. She don't have access anymore.
Oh Lord, see, you done left her all alone in Jersey. See,
Yeah. I did everything. Like I was her resource. I did everything for her. Whenever whatever she needs, I'm there, and I'm not
wow.
there anymore. So yeah,
Did you ever miss Jersey?
I do. I don't miss traffic. I don't miss the
Facts.
crowd.
Mm.
but I do miss access to diversity, recreation, Trini food,
See.
and food across
Facts.
the board. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't have access to anything Caribbean out here. Like nothing, nothing. Like I have found one or two Jamaican restaurants, but they're not up to par.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I just miss access. Just like
Yeah.
access.
Yeah, I saw you made a or you took a recent road trip to Colorado. How was that?
It was great. Colorado was good. Like it was nice to experience a little bit of a diversity because I'm in Nebraska and there is
Mm.
literally none. So
Hmm.
this has been a weird existence too.
Yeah.
Um, it was good. It was nice to see something like mountains. Like there's nothing in Nebraska. Like Nebraska is so flat.
Mm.
That, it was nice to have some contrast. It was a nice experience. I enjoyed
You
it.
find any like Caribbean foods out there?
I did went to a Jamaican restaurant. It was okay. It wasn't up to par.
Oh Lord.
It
So you
was
got these.
okay. Like, come on, I'm from the Caribbean, so I have a high standard.
Mm.
I know what the criteria is. So yeah, I should have gone to more restaurants because I missed a couple that I heard were actually like really good.
Okay. Was that a long drive?
About 12 hours. No, yeah, 10 to Colorado Springs and 12 to Denver.
Mercy. Yeah. I went to Colorado Springs. It's only 6 hours from Cannon. It wasn't a
Oh,
bad. I mean, 4 hours is around the. It's like the perfect road trip. And then El Paso. I was there this past weekend. El Paso's perfect
oh,
road
that's
trip.
where you
Like,
chose to go.
whoo, El Paso's dope. It's the size of a major. It's like a little over half a million people,
Mm,
but it's right on the border. And so looking over at Mexico, first of all, I have notes on that as far as addressing that live stream. That was just dope to be able to look over a fence, and it's not a
have you
wall.
been to Mexico?
No,
Have okay.
and it's part of my
I'm
dream.
just not familiar with like these middle parts of the country, like Texas, and like I'm just not. I'm an East Coast girl, so.
And this is partly why I had to get back in my road trip bag. The road tripping, like I used to go every weekend. I'm like, bro, I didn't take a road trip. Like, I went to OKC. That was it's a very clean city. Like very kind of. I mean, they have their hippies, but I prefer Austin hippies, like LA hippies, like just luxurious, you know, $10,000 sweater hat
Wow.
with the mittens to match. Like I don't know, but yeah, El Paso was dope. But Colorado Springs also had its parts. It's just in the mountains. I'm like I get anxiety looking at all the hills and valleys. I'm like,
I
bruh,
love it.
give
I
me
love it.
flatness any day.
No, ooh, no, no,
I
no, no, no,
love Texas.
no. I can't do flat. I need contrast. I
Mm,
need texture. I need no. Even in Trinidad, like there are hills, mountains. I can't
mm.
do flat stuff. Like no.
Are
I
you a
enjoy.
big hiker?
I love hiking. I enjoyed both Colorado Springs and Denver differently though, but I enjoyed
Mm,
them. Yeah.
okay.
Like the closest decent place to me is Kansas City, which is like 2.5 hours away. Outside of that, I'm gonna have to drive like probably like 8, 9 hours to Chicago, or 10 hours to Colorado Springs, or 12 hours to Denver. Like,
Hmm.
no, I'm not beating my car down. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'll fly.
you should have upgraded that junk a long time. Get you a Tesla or something.
Ooh, I
Do
love
you have
that.
a dream car?
No, I'm not a car person, but it just can't be anything low to the ground. I like being a little high up.
Yeah, yeah. I finally got my first SUV, and I'm like just being able to step directly into it and not step
Oh,
down.
you have an SUV now? Wait,
Yeah.
you got rid of the car after you backed up into the tree?
No, no, it's the same one that back to the tree. If I got like an SUV like well, like my Tesla truck or the Model Y or the Denali or something, I'll be
I'm not a
losing
car
sleep right
person,
now.
but I like looking at cars. But I don't really. I'm not big on. Oh, I must have this. Oh, I must have that. I tend to like more
Mm.
sports looking cars though.
You said sports cars?
Cars that have a sporty look, not
Okay.
necessarily sports
Do
cars.
you have a favorite that you like looking at?
No, not necessarily. It just depends on how she sits. You know?
That is the definition of deflection. Just so you're aware.
No, okay. I saw. I don't see. I saw an Audi truck the other day that I really, really, really love, but I didn't even. I don't even know like what model it was. I just
See,
loved it.
that's all you had to say. And
But
I mean,
again, I just liked the way it sit. That's what I said.
but that's all you had to say was the example of the Audi truck. I'm like, well, I saw an Audi truck that day. I'm like, there. That's all. That's all I want to know.
Aw.
Do you think men have a monopoly on logic?
Explain.
So the common trope or stereotype is that men don't express their feelings properly or enough, or adequately, and of course, women kind of dominate in that way of maturity, if you will. That they're more inclined to be more emotionally mature than men are. It's not absolute in this way, but you see how men tend to prioritize logic over emotion, and women tend to prioritize emotion over logic. But my issue is, when does the switch flip? When in your life do you say, all right, I just need to prioritize logic in this situation versus I feel this way, but I'm going to ignore that.
Well, you're not talking to the average woman, so like
That I,
I use logic all the time.
when would you say you use logic over emotion, and you do it consciously? I'll put it that way.
If it involves other people, I'm using logic.
Interesting.
Yeah. When it's for myself, it's more emotion.
I do appreciate your time, for taking the time to even come see your boy.
Thank you for
Uh,
inviting me.
most def. But yeah, I'll let you enjoy your evening because I know you got to work tomorrow, and we actually both do.
We should be
Um,
working too, but okay. Yeah.
I mean, we both have to work hard tomorrow, so uh, I'll let you go. But yeah, thank you again,
Oh,
for
no,
your time.
for sure, for sure. We'll talk.